going on, everyone? In today's video, I will once again be ranking all of the Pixar movies. It's been over a year since the last time I've done this, and since that time period, there have been 3 new Pixar movies released, and of course, those are Cars 3, Coco, and Incredibles 2. Part of the reason why it's taken me so long to finally make this video again, it's been 2 weeks in fact since the last time I've actually made a YouTube video, is because I had no idea where to place Incredibles 2 on this list. In case you didn't know, I was pretty displeased with how that movie turned out, so my mind was boggled with where I should put it on this list, but I've finally come to a conclusion. Before I get this video started, you should know that there are 18 spots on this list. Part of the reason for that is because I have decided to put the Toy Story trilogy once again into just one slot, so that's why there are 18 instead of 20 spots on this list. So without further ado, let's get started with number 18. There's no doubt in my mind that Incredibles 2 is the worst Pixar movie. I know many people will disagree with that, but I just did not like this movie whatsoever. There were so many flaws from my point of view. I liked the beginning and how it started directly after the first movie, but after that, there wasn't much that I enjoyed. The villain was atrocious. Some of the dialogue was very choppy at times, and they decided to make a non-talking baby the second main character after Mrs. Incredible. What? Number 17. This originally was my least favorite Pixar movie until Incredibles 2, and that is Brave, a movie that I feel is very unoriginal. The first 15 to 30 minutes is very cool. I do enjoy that time span, but after that, the movie becomes extremely cliched. It's very predictable. You could watch a billion other Disney movies and you'll have already watched Brave because it's basically the same exact thing. There was nothing special about this movie after the first 30 minutes, so that's why it is here near the bottom of my list. Number 16. A franchise that many people dislike, Cars falls here at 16. I actually really like the ending to Cars. It's one of the more heartwarming endings inside of the Pixar universe. But the middle of this movie drags a ton. There is nothing that is interesting about the middle of this movie. There isn't much going on. It's a pretty uneventful film throughout the majority of the runtime. The beginning is fun, the ending is heartwarming, but the middle, my god, it's a little bit hard to get through. Number 15. A movie that many people hate and feel is the worst for Pixar. Cars 2, I do think, is slightly better than the first Cars, and that's because of the thrilling races as well as the beautiful animation accompanied with this film. That's what saved this movie for me. I do really get into the races for this movie. Though it is a bit stupid how the cars are spies, it's an espionage film, it doesn't make much sense, and Mater is the main character. My god. Who decided to make him the main character of this movie? Number 14. I like dinosaurs, but this movie didn't give me a reason to like them anymore. The Good Dinosaur is another movie that's a bit unoriginal. I enjoy the story. It is perfectly fine. But this movie just feels like a safe pick for the week of Thanksgiving because that's when it came out back in 2015. It was a perfectly okay movie. It is heartwarming at times, but still, you feel like you've seen this movie a million times because it's not that original. We've seen movies like this before. Number 13. One of those films that once again illustrates how the sequel is never as good as the original. Monsters University was a fun movie at the time. It's a movie I can still watch to this day and enjoy. But it kind of stinks because it doesn't have the same feels that you get from the first movie with characters like Boo and their connection to characters like Sully. That was some great stuff we got in the first movie, plus the villain Randall was one of the better villains for Pixar. So it was kind of disappointing we didn't get the same exact thing we got from the first movie, but nonetheless, it was great to see both Mike and Sully again in this film. Number 12. One of the most underrated Pixar movies, Cars 3, was a very surprising movie for myself. I thought this was a lot better than the first 2 installments, and that's because the ending was very surprising. There were some twists and turns I didn't see coming. I actually felt like tearing up a couple of times during Cars 3. I love some of the character arcs in this film. Those were unexpected. This is a movie I feel like is better than what many people say, and it's worth watching. It's a family film, and I do think it improves a lot more over the first two car installments. Number 11. This is probably the Pixar movie I've watched the least over the years, which is surprising because a lot of people love this movie, and that is Ratatouille, a film that I don't feel like has as compelling of a story compared to other Pixar installments. The movie does feel a bit too different from other Pixar movies, and at times it doesn't feel like a Pixar movie, which is why it's not exactly at the top of my list here for the Pixar rankings, but still, it is very enjoyable. I love food. It's great to see the character arcs in this movie come out. Plus, on top of that, the movie does know how to tug on your heartstrings. Number 10. I absolutely hate Bugs, but A Bug's Life is a very enjoyable movie. This is probably one of the more adventurous Pixar movies out there. It's very funny at times. I love the characters built inside this film, and there is a great villain from A Bug's Life. I don't really have many problems with A Bug's Life. The only problem I really ever had was the fact that it did not live up to the hype that Toy Story built. But this movie is still pretty darn good. Number 9. Everyone's mind is an enigma. Inside Out falls here at number 9. What a great creative film. This is probably the most creative Pixar movie ever made. Who would have thought of an idea like this? Every time I watch Inside Out, I am glued to the screen because of how inventive and different this movie is. And my goodness, did this movie make me tear up. There are some moments that I cannot even watch because it is so heartwarming, but at the same time, very sad. I love Inside Out. Number 8. Another movie that blew me out of the water. I never in a million years would have guessed it would have been good after watching the first trailer, but Finding Dory was an excellent follow-up to the first movie. This film, my God, is excellent because it doesn't follow the same footsteps as the first. It doesn't feel like a repeat, and that's originally what I thought it was going to be. But no, this was basically Finding Nemo on a much smaller scale with differences. And they're able to pull it off so well. Ellen DeGeneres as Dory coming back was great as the voice actress. Some of the new characters they introduced here were awesome. I love the chemistry we have once again with Dory, Marlin, and Nemo. And this is a very fun movie that I can watch a million times. There is not a Finding Nemo sequel I would rather watch than this. This is the best they could have possibly done. Number 7. Talk about tearing me up. Coco at 7. Oh man, this was one of the best Pixar movies I've seen in a long, long time. I never expected this movie to be good either, but man, oh man, was this movie awesome. The music was great. The surprises came out of nowhere. Never in a million years would I've guessed some of the surprises this movie pulled out of its hat. Plus, again, this movie, I literally felt like I was going to cry throughout the entirety of its runtime. This is a beautiful film with some of the best animation I've ever seen, and it's one of my favorites from last year. Number 6. I've heard a lot of people say this is their favorite Pixar movie, and for me, it's one I grew up with, and it also has to do with my name here on YouTube. Sully, of course you guessed it, Monsters Inc. is at number 6. Easily one of the best aspects of Monsters Inc. besides the friendship built with Sully and Boo is how this movie puts a twist on the idea of monsters coming out of a kid's closet. It was cool to see that, a very creative idea, and the movie does have a lot of deeply layered themes. You love the characters in this movie too. Mike and Sully are one of the best duos out there for any movie ever made. I love the two on the screen, and Monsters Inc. is a phenomenal movie. Number 5. I've always wondered what is out there in the universe and what could possibly happen to our world several years from now, and WALL-E tries to explain a lot of what could possibly happen down the line. This is a gorgeous looking film, one of the best looking animated movies out there. This is one of also the best movies where there is minimal dialogue. And I know that's an aspect a lot of people didn't like, but for myself, that was a risk, and a risk that turned out to be a great one. They nailed this movie from the bottom to the top. WALL-E is one of the best Pixar films out there. If you haven't watched it, I know a lot of people haven't, go watch WALL-E. Number 4. Oh man, this movie makes me tear up every time. Up falls here at number 4. The beginning of this movie, you all know, is heartbreaking. It sets the tone. You know what you're getting into. But, oh my god, why tugging our heartstrings more and more with every single Pixar installment? You guys are killing us. Up has some of the best characters for all of Pixar. Mr. Fredricksen, Russell, Doug, Kevin, those 4 on the screen are great to watch. Super funny. I love Russell and Kevin. Those 2 are hilarious together. Up also includes one of the best villains for the Pixar universe, a surprising villain, and a very intense ending that gets me every single time. Up is as close to perfect as you could ever get, and the movie is really creative too. Number 3. Being down the shore makes me love this movie more and more with every passing day looking out on the bay. Finding Nemo was one of my favorite movies growing up. Another Pixar movie that tugs on your heartstring from the beginning. A very gritty, intense movie from the start with what happens to the main character, Marlin. You feel so much from this character right away. And when Nemo gets taken away from him, you are dying for him to succeed and find his son again. The chemistry between Dory and Marlin is so funny at times, and I just love how adventurous this movie gets. This is one of the most adventurous movies I've ever seen. Plus, it takes place inside of an ocean, which makes it even more cool. Nothing beats the ocean, and this week is Shark Week, so go watch Finding Nemo while you get the chance, and watch Shark Week right after it. Number 2. Here we go. I'm cheating a little bit, but at number 2, it is in one place, the Toy Story trilogy. Talk about an iconic trilogy with some iconic characters, Buzz Lightyear and Woody. I'm pretty sure there is not a single soul on this planet who doesn't know Woody and Buzz. These 2 are everywhere, and I'm pretty sure they are engraved inside of everyone's mind. But these movies are pure classics. There is not a single flaw with any of the 3, and some would even argue that they each get better as they go along. Toy Story 1, we have the tone set. These 2 characters, Buzz and Woody, butt heads, but they grow a friendship, and it has some very deeply layered themes. The second movie gets even better with Al and that guy. It's hilarious. I love the adventures of that movie. And the third one gets very intense. It's definitely darker. It's tear-jerking at times, but at the same time, it is such a great conclusion to one of the best trilogies ever made. I would actually say the Toy Story trilogy is my second favorite trilogy, right after the original Star Wars trilogy. It's that amazing. Number 1. Finally, last but not least, the movie you guys all knew was going to be here at the very end. The Incredibles is still my favorite Pixar movie, no doubt about it. This movie has some of the best action out there, not just for superhero movies or animated movies, movies in general. This is a very relatable, realistic movie that has deeply layered themes beneath the surface. Adults could love this movie, kids will love this movie. This is a very mature movie and something that was not expected, considering the fact that most animated movies are made for kids, but this movie does feel more mature than anything we've seen before when it comes to animation. And this movie has one of the best villains in any movie ever to come out. Syndrome is terrific, a great villain, and a villain that was very surprising, super shocking, never would have saw it coming. The score, too, for The Incredibles is fantastic, one of the greatest ever made. It's very unfortunate that Incredibles 2 is my least favorite Pixar movie, while my favorite Pixar movie is the first one. Who would have thought, but that's how it turned out at the end of the day for myself, and those are just my opinions. So there you have it, guys. Those are my rankings for all of the Pixar movies. Be sure to let me know down below in the comment section what your rankings are. Oh, golly. I'm glad I got that done. It's been a while, I know, 2 weeks, in fact, since my last video, but this week I am going to be binge watching all of the Mission Impossible movies because we finally have another good movie coming out in this month since Ant-Man and the Wasp, and that is Mission Impossible Fallout. I will be sure to have that review coming out this upcoming weekend, as well as my rankings for all 6 Mission Impossible movies. Get ready for that, guys. If you are new to my channel, click that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.